getting back-to-back updates on the Israel-Iran ceasefire. In fact, this is a statement that's coming in from France. French envoy who has warned Iran, saying that sanctions will still be possible if Iran makes no nuclear deal. So, piling that pressure on Iran, the French ambassador to the United Nations said that they expect Iran to return to talks without delay in order to achieve a robust, verifiable and lasting diplomatic solution. The ambassador said that negotiations were the only way to guarantee the impossibility of an Iranian military nuclear program. This comes days after US conducted strikes against Iranian nuclear facilities in Iran. So an important statement coming in. Let's take that same point across to the guest joining us on the broadcast. It's David M. Litman, who is joining us live from Boston, US. Mr. Litman, that's an important statement that's coming in from the French envoy, who says that that NATO members could reactivate sanctions on Iran. That is, if an agreement is not reached upon on Iran's nuclear program. The question is, will NATO piling that pressure on Iran push the latter to come to the negotiating table with the US?
Yes, I believe it will. And it's important that European powers like France make that very clear to the Iranian regime, that sanctions are on the table and, in fact, will happen if Iran does not return to the negotiating table in good faith. And as we've seen, a lot of the powers in Europe have adopted the U.S. line as well, that there needs to be zero enrichment, as it's become clear Iran is not an honest actor. And I think Iran is going to be forced to reconcile whether it wants to continue being sanctioned and ostracized, or if it wants to return to being a peaceful member of the international community.
Yes, also, Mr. Litman, talking about a Reuters report that has surfaced, which says that U.S. intel assessment has found that U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities have set back Tehran's program by only a matter of months. And this is, of course, in contradiction to the statements that came in from President Donald Trump, who said that these nuclear sites have been completely obliterated. Your statement, your comments on this, because the question that clearly arises at this stage is whether the warring sites will be back to square one if that is the case.
Right. I would caution against taking that leaked intelligence estimate very seriously, in part because it's likely only one interpretation of facts. But the other thing to note about this leaked intelligence document is that it suggests that the fact these strikes did not destroy the enriched uranium is evidence that the strikes failed. My understanding, based on comments by officials, is that they never meant to destroy the enriched uranium, in part because that could cause environmental damage that neither Israel nor the United States wanted to cause to Iran. So we'll see as more intelligence estimates come out. But I would caution against these kind of selective leaks that come out. And, I think all parties, Israel, the United States, and other interested parties abroad, are beginning to realize and have long realized that this is an ongoing issue. And it will, while military action is necessary when dealing with a regime like Iran that was refusing to negotiate in good faith, ultimately, everybody hopes that there will be a diplomatic resolution in the end in which Iran will give up its ambitions. But military action is going to be necessary to slow down the weaponization process and bring them back to the negotiating table when they are acting out of line in the way that they have been for the last 20, frankly, 30 years.
Mr. Litman, taking that same point forward, a statement that came in from an Iranian official even before US conducted those airstrikes on Iran, that those nuke materials had been relocated to safer locations. The question is whether that 400 kg of uranium has been relocated or not. If that is, could that be used as a powerful bargaining chip by Iran when the nuclear talks happen with the US?
Of course, and something that the officials in the United States and Europe and Israel are always going to have to be very cognizant of is that As much as Israel has demonstrated it has deeply penetrated Iran in terms of intelligence gathering, there's always unknowns, and Iran is constantly trying to hide aspects of its nuclear program, as has been exposed repeatedly. As for the 400 kilograms, we will see as time goes on. Both the United States and Israel have hinted that they have an idea of where that uranium was taken to. But from what I understand, that enriched uranium is it's not weapons grade yet. Of course, it's dangerous. It can be further enriched, but it's not an immediate threat.
Also, Mr. Litman, talking about the ceasefire that has been agreed upon, the truce, the conditional truce, so as to say, it's literally hanging by a thread. If that is violated, where does it put the U.S.? Will the latter actually get entangled in the West Asia conflict again? That is in a full-fledged mode.
That's the million-dollar question right now, as we would say. The ceasefire, I suspect there are understandings that were made behind the scenes involving more parties than just Israel, the U.S., and Iran, which are going to make the ceasefire a little bit more resilient than it would appear at first glance. If it does falter, and we did see some unfortunate signs this morning, Iran violated the ceasefire almost immediately, and a ballistic missile ended up killing 4 Israelis. Fortunately, it has not spiraled any further, and the ceasefire seems to hold. If there is further problems, and we have seen, again, some further violations, it appears Iran sent a couple of drones that entered Israeli airspace. I think Trump does not want to escalate the conflict, but Israel will do what it has to do, as much as it has a lot of gratitude for what Trump has done for Israel in taking out the nuclear program and showing support for Israel.
Yes, and Mr. Litman, just last question before we let you go. Donald Trump has also announced that China can now continue to buy Iranian oil. Quickly, if you can talk to us about how Iran has been reeling under those economic downturn conditions, and how announcing that China can actually buy Iranian oil gives a much needed relief to Iran.
Right. I haven't seen that report, but assuming that it's true, I think that would actually be a bit of an unfortunate maneuver, unless it is a part of a ceasefire understanding that has not been made public yet as an incentive for Iran to take certain actions. I think the sanctions have been the most effective way of limiting the damage that the Iranian regime has been able to cause to the region, not just with the threat of nuclear weapons, but in terms of its ability to fund terrorist organizations across the region that have caused untold bloodshed and chaos, like Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, Islamic Jihad. So I think this move, maybe it's an attempt to demonstrate some good faith, but it is a mistake, and it's a token that should be used in order to make sure that Iran comes to the table in good faith. And frankly, Iran should be thankful that both Israel and the United States held off on hitting Iran's economic targets, like its ports and its oil facilities, with the exception of some military storage sites.
Yes, Mr. Litman, that brings me to another question here. Why do you think that there was calibrated restraint on part of Russia? Why did it not enter in a full-fledged mode to help its ally Iran in this ongoing conflict, which now temporarily seems to have come to a standstill, so as to say? But why was there, in your thought, that restraint on part of Vladimir Putin in this conflict?
I think there's a number of key elements there. Number one is quite simply Russia is too entangled in its own crisis in the conflict or the war that it is waging against Ukraine, and it has a very limited ability to spread its power elsewhere. We saw it was unable to intervene in the downfall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, and similarly, it's unable to intervene to help Iran preserve its nuclear program. But there's obviously another reality here, which is that quite simply Russia is not a reliable ally. And I think a lot of countries are beginning to realize that Russia will take what it can from its so-called allies, but it will not step in to save them.
Yes, Mr. Litman, all eyes will of course be on that NATO summit. Remains to be seen what comes out of that summit in context of the Israel-Iran war. But we'll have to leave the discussion here. Appreciate you for your time.
Thank you so much.